One of my students said something to me a while back, and it really kind of stuck with me, and I've really been thinking about it. And we were talking about being motivated to go to class or being motivated to get things done. And I want to share with you some thoughts on our conversation. And I think that this will help you be able to get things done and be where you need to be and feel like you're accomplishing things and keeping up with your work. So stay tuned to College on Fleek. I'm an award-winning business professor on the collegiate level and the creator of One-Derful Life and College on Fleek. Today, I want to talk to you about accountability, which is basically like, how do you keep your own feet to the fire? You know, like, how do you really keep yourself going? But before we do that, I want to remind you to go to collegeonfleek.com, get the Study Smart Toolkit. Every semester, I have students come to me and say, Professor Dittman, can I stop by your office and you show me how to study? Well, Mama ain't got time for that. In any given semester, I'll have like usually 200 students, no lie. I can't talk to all 200 students one at a time. I ain't got time for that. And listen, I get it with studying, okay? Because a lot of times in high school, you don't really have to study very hard and you get good grades, and then you get to college and it's like we threw you in the deep end of the pool with no swimming lessons. And a lot of my students, by the time they get to college, they don't know how to study and they need to learn it. But I can't sit down with you one-on-one. When I was in college, I was in the same boat. Now, I did study. I had terrible test anxiety though, and if you've never had it, let me tell you what that is. You study, like I'd go to class, I'd take notes, I'd study, and then I'd go to take the test, and I couldn't remember anything. Or I knew it was up here, couldn't get it on the paper, and then I would start to panic. And I'm not kidding you, there was more than one time in an exam, it happened in graduate school as well, where the only thing on my paper was my name. And listen, if you've never had that experience, it's scary, and you start to panic, and then you just feel like a loser. My experience as a teacher, I've been teaching for almost 20 years, is that poor grades are almost never an issue of intelligence in college. It is almost always an issue of technique. So I developed the Study Smart Toolkit to help me. That's what got me over my test anxiety so I could start getting decent grades. And when I started teaching, I started sharing this technique with my students. And so over the years, when I realized teaching people one-on-one, I can help like 1 or 2 people a day, I put the whole thing in the Study Smart Toolkit. That's a video. It's free. So you have access to it 24/7, anytime you want. You can watch it over and over and over. And I take you through the 3-step system that helped me. Now, I like to know what to do, but I also need to know like how to do it. So in the Study Smart Toolkit, when I tell you here's what to do, I break it down and I show you here's how to get this stuff done. And listen, over the years, I've seen hundreds of my students go from D's and F's to A's and B's on the very next test. Now, I'm not a magician, okay? I can't make you a guarantee, but I can tell you what I've seen with my own eyes. And I mean, I've seen students whose grades were so terrible going to A's and B's on the next test where I was like, are they cheating? Like, and I'd watch them for cheating. Nope, they're not cheating. And usually after the second A, I'd pull them aside privately and be like, what are you doing? And they would tell me like, on Study Smart Toolkit, I've been watching it, really helped me out. So, you know, see for yourself. It doesn't matter what class, what subject, what major you're in, what school you go to. I've seen it work for high school, college, graduate school. So do yourself a favor. Go to collegeonfleek.com and get that Study Smart Toolkit. I teach a class for students on academic probation, and this past semester we were talking about, especially when you get to a point in the semester, like this was after spring break, that a lot of the students were really struggling with their motivation. Like they got off their rhythm because of spring break. And you know, there was a lot going on in this particular semester. Like there was a bunch of different viruses going around. I know because I had several of them. allergies and pollen, and some of the students had made comments about like, I just didn't feel well, or my allergies were bothering me, or I just was tired. And then I said, well, listen, the first day of school, I'd already been sick with this like head cold or bronchitis, I don't know what it was. I'd already had that for like 4 weeks. And then the first day of school, I had the stomach virus that was going around. You ever been so sick you're afraid you're gonna die? Yeah, but then you get feeling worse and you're afraid you're not gonna die? That was your girl on the first day of school. But listen, I had to suck it up and come to school and get my job done. And yeah, was I having a sinus infection at one point in the semester and my allergies were driving me crazy? Yeah. And I had made that point to the students, like, look, you know, that's part of being an adult. Unless you have something contagious, which I kind of did with the stomach virus, probably shouldn't have come to work. But if you don't have something contagious and you're not coughing up a lung, sometimes you need to go to work or you have to go to class. And this one student, he's really one of my favorite students, he looked at me and goes, yeah, Ms. Dittman, but that's because you're accountable to other people. Like, you have to show up. It's your job. And you have students depending on you. And okay, you know what? You're right. If I don't show up for class, I'm getting fired. But what really stuck with me was he was really making the point that, well, you have to be in class because other people are depending on you. And it made me think, but just like you depend on me to show up to class, okay, like if you're my student, you're depending on me to show up to class and teach you what's going to be on the test. Well, you are also depending on you, okay? So both of us have to be in class for you to get what you need to do well in the class. Like, I have to be there and you have to be there. So you are accountable to yourself to go to class. If you can't even count on you, why would anyone else be able to count on you? I'll have students sometimes that ask me for, like, can you, hey, Ms. Dittman, if you hear about a job, can you let me know? Well, listen, if you're skipping my class all the time, I'm not gonna refer you for a job somewhere. The students that I'll say, hey, I heard about a job, you should apply for it, are students that I know are dependable. And I'm not talking about straight A students. I mean, a lot of times I'll find a straight C student, but if they're in class every day and they're paying attention and taking notes, I'd rather send them on a job interview than a straight A student who's missing all the time. And that's real talk right there. If you think about it like this, showing up to work or showing up to class is really an agreement. And you're agreeing that if I'm going to take this class, I'm going to attend. Or if I'm going to have this job, I'm going to show up for work. And I know life happens. There are times where you can't be somewhere. Yeah, there have been times where I've been really sick and I can't go to work. So then you have to let people know in advance so that they can make arrangements if you're not going to be there. And you need to arrange to cover whatever's happening. Listen, if I can't make it to a class, I am still responsible to teach that material to the students. So I better find another way to get it to them. Either I better get it together and go fast through a few lectures to make it up, or I need to have it on video and make it available to them. But it's my responsibility. Likewise, if you're not in class one day, it's your responsibility to get that material. Same thing at work. If you're supposed to do something at work and you don't show up one day, you might still have to get it done the next time you're there. If I call out sick from work and that means I'm going to miss a faculty meeting, it's my responsibility to find out what happened. And that does not mean go to my boss and go, what'd you talk about in the meeting yesterday? It's my responsibility to get the minutes, read the minutes, and if there's anything I have a question about, probably ask the administrator who was taking notes or one of my colleagues, and if one of them can't help me, yeah, then I might have to go to my boss and say, hey, I was reading the minutes since I missed the meeting and I had a question about such and such. That's my responsibility. And again, that's part of being an adult. And you say, well, you know, whatever, I'm in college, I'll do that stuff when I graduate. No, you won't. The way that you become successful, listen, walking across the graduation stage doesn't make you successful. Okay, some of you, when you were in high school, you're like, well, when I get to college, I'll really buckle down. Well, walking across the stage at your high school graduation didn't magically change you. And it's the same thing with college. Walking across the stage does not magically change you. The way you develop your habit muscles is by working them in college. And so getting into good habits is really important. And by the way, it's super easy in college to develop bad habits because that's what's around you. So you're going to be around people who are cutting class, they're partying all the time, they're not doing their homework, they're goofing off a lot. And look, you should be having fun in college. I'm not telling you not to have fun. You need to have a good time. But it doesn't have to be either or. It could be both and. Go have a good time and still go to class. Or have a good time and still make it to work. So the reason that, for example, going to class or going to your group project meeting or reading the assignment or logging on to Blackboard, whatever the thing is that you're supposed to be doing, the reason that's important is, number one, it helps you get in that rhythm and build that habit of going. Number two, it demonstrates to you and to others that you are a man of your word or a woman of your word and that you are dependable. And number three, even if nobody else notices, this is stuff that you have to do for you to have the life that you want to have. I mean, if you've never had this experience where you failed a class, talk to one of your friends who has. It sucks because you think like, well, I don't feel like going to class. You feel like retaking that class after you fail it. See, if you do it right the first time, then it's really saving you time because you don't have to repeat things. So I just wanted to share that with you because it's really been on my mind about, I know my students depend on me. Yeah, I am accountable. I have to show up for class. But you know what? Just like I'm accountable to you to show up to class, you're accountable to you to show up to class. You're not accountable to me. Okay, I tell students all the time, look, my job as a teacher, I don't give you anything. I don't give you a grade. My job is just to write down the grade you earn. That's it. Okay, so you're not going to class for my sake to make me happy. You're going to class for you, okay? So I'm going to come to class for you, and you're going to come to class for you. And there you go. It's a win for you both times. College on Fleek is a dialogue, not a monologue, and we want to hear from you. I want to know, what do you think about this? Do you think it matters? Are you accountable to yourself, or do you think that's just stupid? Maybe you don't have to use the word stupid. That might hurt my feelings. But put in the comments and let us know what you think. And we want to hear from you. What are you struggling with in college? What would help you? Tell us what you would like to hear more about because we want our content to be valuable to you. Remember to go to collegeonfleek.com and get your Study Smart Toolkit. We also have some really cool merchandise there that you might want to check out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on College on Fleek.